قوم فرعون ألا يتقون.
The people of Pharaoh, do they have no fear?
9. That is, O Moses, just see how these people are perpetrating crime and injustice, presuming that they are all powerful in the land, having no fear of God, who will call them to account in the hereafter. 10.
قال رب إني أخاف أن يكذبون.
He said, My Lord, I fear that they will brand me a liar.
ويضيق صدري ولا ينطلق لساني فأرسل إلى هارون.
My breast is constricted and my tongue is not fluent, so endow messengership on Aaron.
The sentence, my breast straightens, shows that Prophet Moses, peace be upon him, was somewhat hesitant of going alone on such a difficult mission, and also had the feeling that he was not eloquent in speech. That is why he begged Allah to appoint Aaron too, as messenger to assist him, who, being more vigorous in speech, could support and strengthen him as and when the need arose. It is just possible that in the beginning, the Prophet Moses, peace be upon him, might have begged that Aaron be appointed to prophethood instead of him, but later when he felt that Allah willed him to be appointed to that position, he might have appealed that Aaron should at least be made his counselor and assistant. We say this because here Prophet Moses, peace be upon him, is not praying for Aaron to be made his counselor, but says, appoint Aaron to prophethood. On the other hand, in Surah Taha, he says, appoint for me a counselor from my family, let it be my brother Aaron. Then in Surah Al-Qasas, he says, my brother Aaron is more vigorous in speech than myself, so send him as an assistant with me to confirm and support me. From this it appears that these two requests were made later, but originally Prophet Moses, peace be upon him, had begged Allah to appoint Aaron to prophethood instead of himself. The Bible has a different story to tell. According to it, Prophet Moses, fearing that he would be rejected by the people of Pharaoh, and putting forward the excuse of his faltering speech, had declined to accept his appointment to prophethood on the pretext that he lacked vigor and eloquence in speech. O my Lord, send, I pray thee, by the hand of him whom thou wilt send. Exodus 4:13. Then Allah, of his own will, appointed Aaron to be his assistant and persuaded them to go together before Pharaoh. Exodus 4:1-13. For further details, see En. 19 of Taha. 11.
Peace be upon him.
وَلَهُمْ عَلَيَّ ذَنبٌ فَأَخَافُ أَن يَقْتُلُونَ.
As for me, they hold a charge of a crime against me. I fear they will put me to death.
7. The allusion is to the incident of Prophet Moses, peace be upon him, giving a blow to an Egyptian, who was fighting with an Israelite, and thus causing his death. Then as soon as Moses came to know that the report had reached Pharaoh and his people and they were planning to take revenge, he fled the country and took refuge in Midian. See, Surah Al-Qasas, ayat 15-21. Now when after a period of almost 10 years of hiding he was suddenly called upon and commanded to go before Pharaoh, who had already a charge of murder against him, with the message, Prophet Moses rightly felt apprehensive that he would immediately be involved in the murder case even before he was able to convey the messages commanded by Allah.
قَالَ كَلَّا فَاذْهَبَا بِآيَاتِنَا إِنَّا مَعَكُمْ مُسْتَمِعُونَ.
He said, certainly not, so go both of you with our signs. We shall be with you, listening to everything.
12. Here the signs meant the miracles of the staff and the shining hand, which were given to Moses. For details see, Surah Al-Araf, ayats 106-117, Surah Taha, ayats 17-23, Surah An-Nam, ayats 7-14, and Surah Al-Qasas, ayats 31-32.
فَأْتِيَا فِرْعَوْنَ فَقُولَا إِنَّا رَسُولُ رَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ.
Go then to Pharaoh and say to him, the Lord of the universe has sent us.
أَنْ أَرْسِلْ مَعَنَا بَنِي
let the children of Israel go with us.
13. The mission of the prophets Moses and Aaron, peace be upon them, was twofold. First, to invite Pharaoh to the worship and obedience of Allah, which has been the foremost aim of the mission of every prophet, and secondly, to liberate the Israelites from the bondage of Pharaoh, which was specifically assigned to them. The Quran has mentioned sometimes only the first part of their mission, as in Surah and Naziat, and sometimes only the second.
قال ألم نربك فينا وليدا ولبثت فينا من عمرك سنين.
Pharaoh said, Did we not bring you up among us when you were a child?
14. This remark of Pharaoh shows that he was not the same Pharaoh who had brought up Moses in his house, but his son. Had he been the same Pharaoh, he would have said, I brought you up. But, on the contrary, he says, you were brought up among ourselves. For a detailed discussion, see ENs 85-93 of Surah Al-Araf.
وفعلت فعلتك التي فعلت وأنت من الكافرين.
You spent many years of your life among us, and then you committed that deed of yours. You are very ungrateful indeed.
15. The allusion is to the incident of murder committed by Moses accidentally.
قال فعلتها إذا وأنا من الضالين.
Moses, peace be upon him, replied, I committed that act erringly.
16. The word dilalat does not always mean straying away, but it is also used in the sense of ignorance, folly, error, forgetfulness, inadvertence, etc. As mentioned in Surah Al-Qasas, Prophet Moses, peace be upon him, had only given a blow to the Egyptian, Copt, when he saw him beating an Israelite cruelly. A blow does not cause death, nor is it given with the intention of causing death. It was only an accident that the Egyptian died. As such, it was not a case of deliberate murder but of accidental murder. A murder was committed but not intentionally, nor was any weapon used, which is usually employed for murder, or which can cause murder.
ففررت منكم لما خفتكم فوهب لي ربي حكما وجعلني من المرسلين.
Then I fled for fear of you. Then my Lord bestowed wisdom and authority on me, and made me one of the messengers.
17. The word haqq means wisdom, knowledge or authority, which is granted by Allah to a prophet so that he may speak with confidence and power.
وَتِلْكَ نِعْمَةٌ تَمُنُّهَا عَلَيَّ أَنْ عَبَّدتَّ بَنِي إِسْرَائِيلَ.
Now this is the favor that you tauntingly remind me of, that you enslaved the children of Israel.
18. That is, if you had not been unjust and cruel to the Israelites, I should not have been brought to your house for upbringing. It was only on account of your barbarism that my mother put me in a basket and cast it into the river. Had it not been so, I should have been happily brought up in my own house. Therefore, it does not behoove you to remind me of your favor of bringing me up in your house.
قال فرعون وما رب العالمين.
Pharaoh said, And who is this Lord of the universe?
19. Here the details that Prophet Moses, peace be upon him, went before Pharaoh as the messenger of the Lord of the universe and conveyed to him his message, have been omitted, and only the conversation that took place between them has been related. 20. This question of Pharaoh concerned the assertion of Moses, peace be upon him, that he had been sent by the Lord, master and ruler of all creation with the message that he should let the Israelites go with him. This was a political message. It implied that the one, whom Moses claimed to represent, possessed authority and sovereign rights over all the people of the world including Pharaoh, and that he was not only encroaching upon his sphere of sovereignty as supreme ruler, but was also sending him the command that he should hand over a section of his subjects. to the representative appointed by him, so that he should take them out of his kingdom. That is why Pharaoh asked, "Who is this master and ruler of all creation who is sending such a command to the king of Egypt through an ordinary subject of his kingdom?"
قال رب السماوات والأرض وما بينهما إن كنتم موقنين.
Moses answered, peace be upon him, "The Lord of the heavens and the earth, and of all that is between them, if you were only to believe."
21. That is, I have not been sent by any mortal king ruling in the world, but I come from him who is the owner of the heavens and the earth. If you believe that there is a creator and master and ruler of this universe, it should not be difficult for you to understand who is the Lord of all creation.
قال لمن حوله ألا تستمعون.
Pharaoh said to those around him, "Do you hear what he says?"
قال ربكم ورب آبائكم الأولين.
Moses said, "He is your Lord, and the Lord of your forefathers of yore."
قال إن رسولكم الذي أرسل إليكم لمجنون.
Pharaoh said to the audience, "This messenger of yours who has been sent to you is simply mad."
22. These words were addressed to the chiefs of Pharaoh, whom he had asked, "Do you hear?" Prophet Moses said, "I do not believe in the false gods who exist today, but did not exist yesterday, or who existed yesterday but do not exist today. This Pharaoh, whom you worship as your Lord today, did not exist yesterday, and the pharaohs whom your elders worshipped yesterday, do not exist today. Whereas I believe in the sovereignty and authority of that Lord who is both your Lord and Pharaoh's Lord as much today as he was your elders' Lord before this."
قال رب المشرق والمغرب وما بينهما إن كنتم تعقلون.
Moses, peace be upon him, continued, "He is the Lord of the east and the west, and all between them, if you only had any understanding."
23. That is, you regard me as a mad person, but if you think you are wise people, you should yourself decide as to who is the real Lord, this wretched Pharaoh who is ruling over a small piece of earth, or he who is the owner of the east and the west and of everything bounded by the east and the west including the land of Egypt. I believe in his sovereignty alone and have been sent to convey his message to a creature of his.
قال لئن اتخذت إلها غيري لأجعلنك من المسجونين.
Pharaoh said, "If you take any god other than me, I will certainly make you one of those who are rotting in prison."
24. To understate and appreciate this conversation fully, one should bear in mind the fact that as it is today, in the ancient times too, the concept of deity was confined to its religious sense only. The deity was meant to be worshipped and presented offerings and gifts, and because of its supernatural powers and authority the people were to pray to it for help and fulfillment of their desires. But a deity's being supreme legally and politically also and his right to enjoin anything he pleased in the mundane affairs and man's duty to submit to his commands as to superior law, has never been recognized by the so-called worldly rulers. They have always claimed that in the mundane affairs, they alone possess absolute authority and no deity has any right to interfere in the polity and law prescribed by them. This very thing has been the real cause of the conflict between the prophets and their righteous followers, on the one hand, and the worldly kingdoms and governments on the other. The prophets have been trying their utmost to make the worldly rulers acknowledge the sovereign and absolute rights of the Lord of the worlds, but they in return have not only been claiming sovereign powers and rights for themselves, but have been considering every such person as a criminal and rebel, who has held someone else as a deity in the political and legal sphere. With this background one can easily understand the real significance of Pharaoh's words. Had it been a question of mere worship and offerings, he would have least bothered that Moses, peace be upon him, forsaking all gods, regarded only Allah, the Lord of all creation, as worthy of those rights. If Moses, peace be upon him, had invited him to serve Allah alone, he would not have felt provoked and offended. At the most he would have refused to give up the creed of his forefathers, or would have challenged Moses, peace be upon him, to have a debate with his own religious scholars. But what caused him provocation was that Prophet Moses, peace be upon him, was presenting himself as the representative of the Lord of all creation and was conveying to him a political command as if he was a subordinate ruler and the representative of the superior authority was demanding obedience from him to the command. In this sense, he was not prepared to acknowledge any other political or legal authority, nor allow any of his subjects to acknowledge anybody instead of himself as the supreme ruler. That is why he challenged the term, Lord of all creation, for the message sent by him clearly reflected sovereignty in the political and not in the mere religious sense. Then, when Prophet Moses, peace be upon him, explained over and over again what he meant by the Lord of all creation, Pharaoh threatened that if he held anyone other than him as sovereign in the land of Egypt, he would be cast into prison.
قال أولو جئتك بشيء مبين.
Moses, peace be upon him, said, even if I were to bring a clear sign to you.
25. That is, will you still deny me and send me to prison, even if I present a convincing sign to prove that I am really the messenger of God, who is Lord of all creation, Lord of the heavens and the earth and Lord of the east and the west?
قال فأت به إن كنت من الصادقين.
Pharaoh said, then bring it if you are truthful at all.
26. This reply of Pharaoh shows that he was not in any way different from the common polytheists of the ancient and modern times. Like all other polytheists, he believed in Allah's being the highest deity in the supernatural sense, who wielded greater power and authority than all other gods and goddesses. That is why Prophet Moses, peace be upon him, said to him, if you do not believe that I have been appointed by Allah, I can present such clear signs as will prove that I have really been sent by him. And that is why Pharaoh said, if you are true in your claim, come out with your sign. Otherwise, if he had any doubt about the existence of Allah or his being master of the universe, he would not have asked for the sign.
فألقى عصاه فإذا هي ثعبان مبين.
No sooner had he said this, Moses, peace be upon him, threw down his rod, and behold, it was a veritable serpent.
27. Tuban means a serpent. At other places, the Quran has used hayatun, snake, and jan, a small snake, to describe the snake of the staff. The interpretation given by Imam Razi is that the snake of the staff looked like a serpent from its big size and has been called jan on account of its swift movement, which is characteristic of small snakes.
ونزع يده فإذا هي بيضاء للناظرين.
And he drew his hand out of his armpit, and lo, it had become a shining object to the beholders.
28. Some commentators under the influence of the Israelite traditions have translated Baida as white and have taken it to mean that the healthy hand when drawn out of the armpit became white as if struck by leprosy. But commentators like Ibn Jarir, Ibn Kathir, Zamakhshari, Razi, Abul Sa'd Imadi, Alusi and others agree that Baida here means shining and bright. As soon as Prophet Moses, peace be upon him, took his hand out from the armpit, it made the whole place bright as if by the sun. For further explanation, see En. 13 of Taha.
It had become a shining object to the beholders. As soon as Moses took out his hand from his armpit, the whole court became radiant as though the sun had risen.
قال للملأ حوله إن هذا لساحر عليم.
Pharaoh said to the nobles around him, surely this man is a skilled magician.
يريد أن يخرجكم من أرضكم بسحره فماذا تأمرون.
Who wants to drive you out of your land by his magic. Tell us, what do you advise us?
29. The impact of the two miracles can be judged from the fact that a moment before this Pharaoh was calling Moses, peace be upon him, a madman, because he had claimed to be a prophet and had the boldness to openly demand release of the Israelites. He was also threatening Moses, peace be upon him, that if he took somebody else as Lord instead of him, he would cast him into the prison for life. But, after he had seen the signs, he became so terror-stricken that he felt his kingdom to be at stake, and in his confusion he did not realize that he was talking meaninglessly to his servants in the court. Two men from the oppressed community of the Israelites were standing before the most powerful ruler of the time. They had no military force with them, they belonged to a weak and lifeless community, and there was no sign of any rebellion in any corner of the country, nor did they have the support of any foreign power. Yet as soon as the miracles of the snake of the staff and the shining hand were shown, the tyrant desperately cried out, "These two men want to seize power and deprive the ruling class of their sovereign rights." His apprehension that Moses, peace be upon him, would do so by force of his magic again reflected a confused state of mind, for nowhere in the world has a political revolution been ever brought about, nor a country taken, nor a war won merely by force of magic. There were many magicians in Egypt, who could perform masterly tricks of magic, but Pharaoh knew it well that they were non-entities because they performed magic only for the sake of rewards. 30. This sentence further shows Pharaoh's perplexed state of mind. A moment before he was the deity of his courtiers and, now, struck by awe, the deity is asking his servants as to what he should do to meet the dangerous situation.